Hey fam, welcome back to one of the workshops. This is going to be the nutrition and supplementation workshop presented by me, Jose Reyes, your certified personal trainer. Let's just jump right into it. All right, so the topics that we'll be discussing today are TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure, calorie deficits, calories, macronutrients such as carbs, protein, fats, and one more, which is a surprise, and supplements, proteins, caffeine, creatine, and much more. Okay. Let's start with TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. So pretty much this is the total number of calories used by a person throughout the day. Okay, and it varies. It varies depending on the person's age, their sex, their height, their weight, and level of physical activity. And also their TEF, or thermic effect of feeding, which is essentially how much calories your body burns at digesting certain foods. Okay. Also RMR, which is the rest and metabolic rate, which is how much calories you burn at rest. And then finally, NEAT, which is non exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is pretty much how much calories you burn doing those extra daily activities, such as, walking, or going up the stairs, or anything that's not really considered exercise, but just daily activity. Okay. To find your TDEE, you're going to Google TDEE calculator, and you can use one of the first two links that pop up. These are pretty reliable, and you'll need it for this workshop. So if you have your phone on you, or if you have a laptop and you want to follow along with this workshop, I highly suggest you pause this video now and go find your total daily energy expenditure by, again, Googling TDEE calculator. Okay. All right, let's move on. Calorie deficit. Okay, so as you know, I'm a specialist in fat loss and weight loss. So when I do these workshops, I have that in mind. So we're going to be discussing today calorie deficit, which essentially what it means is that you're eating fewer calories than what you're burning. Okay, and essentially you want to be between 200 and 1,000 calorie deficit. Okay, what that means is if you're burning about, let's say, 3,000 calories per day, then you want to be eating anywhere between 2,800 and about 2,000. Okay, this will allow you to lose weight in a gradual way, and be able to maintain the weight after you lose it, instead of just crash dieting and eating way too few calories, which shoots your metabolism, shoots your hormones, your energy levels, which is not what you want. Okay, let's move along. Let's talk a little bit more about calories. So an estimate approximately 3,500 calories equals about 1 pound of body weight. So for example, to lose 1 pound per week, you simply just need to eat 500 calories less than what you burn. So a 500 calorie deficit each day. So 500 calories times seven, right? 7 days a week, it will equal 3,500 calories per week, and that would result in 1 pound loss. Okay. Now, this is essential because you can use this type of information to determine how long it will take you to reach your goal, depending on how aggressive you want your calorie deficit to be. Okay, so that's what our next slide is about. So, how many calories to get to your goal? Okay, so in order to do this, again, if you're working not long, and I know I'm moving pretty fast, but just pause the video and work on it. Okay, so how many calories to get to your goal is going to be 3,500 calories times the amount of pounds you would like to lose. Okay, this will equal the amount of calories that you need to burn in excess of what you are burning already, right? Or how many calories you need to eat less of than the amount of calories you're burning. For example, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, so 20 pounds times 3,500 calories, which is how much calories you need for each pound, will equal 70,000 calories. Okay, this means that you need to eat 70,000 calories less than what you burn in order to lose those 20 pounds. Now, this is why you can't lose 20 pounds overnight, right? We can't even eat 70,000 calories in, let's say, in 2 weeks. It's just is impossible. Okay, so let's continue with the math. Okay, so how long to reach your goal? So with that number, what you're going to essentially do is that you're going to divide the total amount of calories from previous slide, right, by the amount of daily calorie deficit. So and this is the calorie deficit that you want. Okay, so do you want to eat 200 calories less than what you burn? Do you want to eat 500 calories less than you burn? 1,000 calories less than what you burn? Again, you got to keep in mind that the higher the calorie deficit, the harder it is to stick to. Okay, so always keep that in mind. If you're someone that you're super consistent, super dedicated, and super strict on what you can eat, then maybe going towards that closer to 1,000 calories may be more realistic for you. But if you're someone that don't want to make too much changes and too much restriction stresses you out and you can be consistent with it, then I say aim a little closer to the 200 calories per day. Okay. So going back to the example of losing 20 pounds, right? So we have 70,000 calories to burn. Let's divide that by 500 calories, right? So with this goal, we're trying to lose essentially 1 pound per week because 500 calories a day will equal 3,500 calories, like discussed in the previous slide. So let's do the math. 70,000 calories divided by 500 calories equals 140 days. 140 days divided by 7 will give you 20 weeks. So in order to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks, we should be eating a 500 calorie deficit. Okay. Now, how many calories is that? Well, if you go back to the first slide, the TDEE, if you went and calculated that in Google, you would know how much calories you burn approximately per day. So let's say that your number, again, let's say it's 3,000 calories that you burn per day, and you want to lose, let's say, 20 pounds in 20 weeks, then you would have to eat 500 calories less than that. So essentially, you would have to eat 2,500 calories per day for 20 weeks straight in order to reach your goal of losing 20 pounds. I know this is pretty confusing. I know that, especially if this is the first time you do it, but as you can go back to this video and go through the math and punch in your numbers, you should be able to get this number fairly easy. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, you can always put them in the comments, let me know, and I can help you with this. Okay. Macronutrients. Let's move along to macronutrients. So macronutrients are the macro, right? The big nutrients are in our foods, and we're all familiar with them, right? We have carbs or carbohydrates. We have proteins, fats, and the one surprise that I mentioned earlier is ethanol. Ethanol is also a macronutrient that gets overlooked because it's usually not in our food packaging. And what it is alcohol. And let's go how much calories each gram has. Okay, so carbs, for each gram of carb that you consume, has 4 calories. For each gram of protein that you consume, also has 4 calories. And per each gram of fat that you consume, it has 9 calories. Ethanol, which usually doesn't get discussed, for each gram of ethanol that you consume or alcohol, it's 7 calories. Okay. So you can see why alcohol can be very disruptive because it's higher in calories per gram than protein and carbs, but it essentially doesn't provide you any benefit as far as vitamins or minerals or anything that you necessarily need to function. On the other hand, there is misconceptions regarding fats because they're a little more than double the amount of calories per grams. So people kind of deem it this evil thing, which necessarily is not. As long as you're consuming fats from healthy sources, they're actually very necessary for your fat loss, and for hormonal function specifically in your body. If you restrict fats too much, you're going to end up with jacked up hormones, which you don't want. Okay. And we're going to go into each one of these more in depth in the following slides. But just keep in mind the calories per gram of each one. Okay, let's go over that again. Carbs has 4 calories per gram, protein has 4 calories per gram, fats have 9 calories per gram, and alcohol has 7 calories per gram. Okay, let's start with carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, or as we all know them, carbs. The evil carbs. It's false. They don't make you fat. Carbs don't make you fat. Erase everything you've ever heard about that. Okay, because this is not true. And it's hard to break through that, but you have to just trust me on this. Carbs do not make you fat. Too much calories make you fat. Not burning enough calories make you fat. Being in a calorie surplus, which is the opposite of a calorie deficit, makes you fat. Okay. All right. So most diets recommend you eat between 30 and 50% of your foods from carbs. Okay. And this depends on your eating preferences and your energy levels and type of exercise. If you're someone that you're doing very highly intense exercises, or you're running marathons, or you're doing a lot of jumping and stuff like that, then I recommend closer to that 40-50%. If you're someone that is not working out so intensely, or using so much energy throughout the day, then I do recommend a lower carb diet around 30%, even sometimes even lower than that, maybe 20%. Okay. The issue with carbs that people run into, and they say that it makes you fat, is getting carbs from sources that are crap. So not getting sources from foods that are not whole foods. And what do I mean by whole foods? What I mean by whole foods are foods that are essentially whole, that they don't come in a packaging. They come in a natural package. They come in their own package. Potatoes, right? You're not gonna buy a potato that comes in a bag, right? It's just that just its own thing, or that haven't hasn't been processed, right? That's comparing, let's say, a sweet potato with sweet potato fries. Like, that's when it becomes an issue, because you have all this added stuff that is not necessary. But if you're getting your carbs mostly from vegetables and fruit, and like I said, starches that are not how you say, manipulated by different techniques or whatever, then you're going to be fine. And as long as you fall within that 30-50%, and you're not overdoing it, then you're going to be good, as long as you continue to be in that calorie deficit. Okay. And the reason why I also mention energy levels is because carbohydrates are the number one thing that we use for energy. And you'll see diets such as keto diet and things like that, which are great for short term, let's say, 1 month or so of strict eating, but it's not sustainable. But what you'll see with keto diets, if you've tried it before, is that you're low energy most of the time. You may be moody all the time, and it's because our brains need carbs to function. So our brains are running in a fog, kind of slower pace, because we don't have those. That being said, keto diet does work for a very small amount of people long term. There is people that can sustain a keto diet, and that's completely fine. If you're one of those, great, good for you. But if you're not, what essentially is going to happen is you're going to be on keto for a month or two. You're going to lose the weight, and then you're going to go back to your regular lifestyle, regular eating, and you're going to gain all that weight back up. So be mindful of that. For example, for carbs, let's say we are eating, let's say between that 30 and 50, let's say we're eating 40%, and we're going to go back to that 2000 calorie diet example. So let's say we eat 2000 calories a day, multiply that by 40%, that will give you 800 calories, right? So 800 calories out of that 2000 needs to come from carbs. Now you divide that number by how much carbs each gram of how much calories each gram of carb has, which is 4. So that's where you see there the 800 divided by 4. That gives you how much grams you need to consume per the day for the day. So essentially, if you're eating a 2000 calorie diet, and 40% of that is carbohydrates, then that equals 200 grams of carbs. Okay. Now we're going to do this for each one, okay? So let's go next to the protein. So high protein diets also have this stigma that they're going to give you kidney issues. You're going to get kidney stones or kidney failure. This is not true. This is a myth. The only way that a high protein diet is going to be any concern to you is if you already have kidney issues, because the kidneys will have a hard time breaking down protein, getting out of your body. But if you are a healthy human being and don't have kidney issues, a high protein diet is perfectly fine. In fact, it is probably the better out of the diets that you can do, and that's because of muscle retention and muscle growth, which we need as we age. Okay, so most diets recommend between 25 to 50% protein. Okay, and again, this depends on your eating preferences, your energy levels, and the type of exercises that you are doing. If you are doing exercises that break down muscle mass at a higher rate, such as bodybuilding, lifting weights, lifting heavy, then you want to be at a higher protein level. If you're someone that are, let's say, dancing 3 times a week, then maybe you don't need that much protein because your muscle is not being broken down as much. So things that you have to consider. Okay, let's go to our example. Let's say we're eating 2000 calories a day, and 35% of that is going to be protein. That gives us 700 calories out of that 2000 that is going to be dedicated to protein. Now let's divide that by 4, which is the 4 calories per gram, and that gives us 175 grams of protein for the day. Okay. And yeah, so let's move along to fats. And again, fats don't make you fat. All right. I wish sometimes that our labels were called something else besides fat, maybe triglycerides or something that doesn't carry such a bad stigma. Some people think that eating fat from food is essentially just adding it right into their belly as fat, which is not the case. That is just not the way it works. Okay, so most diets recommend between 20 and 30%. And again, it depends on your energy, on your eating preferences, and so on. And let's use the same example. Let's say we're eating 2,000 calories a day and we're going to be consuming 25% of that in fats, and that will give us 500 calories, right? So 25% is one quarter of 2000 is 500 calories, and then that we divide by how much calories per gram, which for fats is different, is 9, not 4. So 500 divided by 9 get equals 55.55, or approximately 56 grams. Okay, so let's recap that. So the macro example, okay, so with 2000 calorie diet at a 40 35 25 split, so that means 40% carb, 35% protein, 25% fat. This is the breakdown, right? So 40% of carbs equals 200 grams of carbs. 35% of protein is 175 grams of protein. And then 25% of fat is 56 grams of fat. And this is what you can use to track your food going forward once you get your own numbers, right? So, based on your own numbers, now you have how much calories you should be consuming based on your TDEE minus how much calorie deficit you want to be. All right, you want to um, know how much carbs you're going to be consuming, how much protein you should be consuming, and how much fat you should be consuming. Now, the question that I get next is, well, what type of carbs should I be eating? What type of protein should I be eating? What's good fats that I should be eating? And quite honestly, I can talk about this forever. But this is the Kickstart challenge. You're just getting started. Doing this, if you can manage to at least stay in your calorie goal, right? And at least hit your protein goal, I don't care where you're getting your food from, quite honestly. Now, that being said, as you progress and you get more comfortable and more disciplined, of course, I want you to research and learn more about it. You can ask me, you can Google things, you can pick up a book, learn what are the healthy fats, right? The avocados, the fish oils, the stuff like that. What are the healthy protein? Maybe the leaner stuff, chicken breast, fish, turkey, carbohydrates, vegetables, fruits, right? Sweet potatoes, things like that. And what it really comes down to is making sure that most of your food, at least 80% of your food, is coming from whole foods. And I'm not talking about the fresh, I'm not talking about the grocery store. I'm talking about whole foods as far as fruit, vegetables, meats, things that are not processed and bags and pre-fried and pre-cooked and pre-packaged and comes in cans. That you want to avoid because it comes with so much extra junk, including a bunch of chemicals that we don't even know. Don't even let me start on that one. That's a whole nother topic. But for this purpose in the Kickstart challenge, as long as you know your calories, proteins, carbs, fats, and you are able to at least be in the ballpark for those, you're going to be in good shape, especially if you've never followed a program for long enough or if you haven't worked out with a trainer long enough. Okay. Um, let's move along. So let's talk a little bit about supplementation. Okay. So supplementation is one of those areas where there's a lot of bull. I'm not gonna say other words just in case you have kids around, but essentially, a lot of these supplement companies, they're not regulated by the FDA or any third party at that, and essentially, they're allowed to sell you anything they want because it's legal. So a pill that says fat burner can just be sugar in a pill, and you wouldn't even know it because they're allowed to do that. So going forward, this before I really go into the supplementation, whatever you do purchase online or in a store, just make sure that you do your research. Make sure that they are third party tested by someone that's accredited. So make sure that there's a company, a third party company that is not associated with that company, that goes in, tests their product, and then gives out annual reports on that product. If that does not exist, you're pretty much blindly buying a bottle that says whatever the hell they wanted to say. And it sounds illegal and it should be, but it's not. Unfortunately, it really isn't. So, with the supplementation that I'm going to be going over today, is things that have been proven to work. And it's not necessarily a specific brand, but just the things that would help you meet your goals. The number one thing is protein. People are so protein deficient. And me, for one, I don't believe that we have a fat crisis in America. I think we have a low muscle crisis in America because if you don't eat enough protein, if you're not lifting heavy or moving throughout the day, you lose muscle mass, which slows down your metabolism, which slows down how much calories you burn at rest, which then causes the weight gain. Now, if you have a lot of muscle, I could sit down here and burn more calories than a person that doesn't have as much muscle. And part of this is because people just don't eat enough protein. And the best way to kind of hit your protein goal, this is like a standard all to all. This is not very specific, but it's 1 gram per goal weight. So let's say you weigh 250, but you want to get to 180. I would say eat about 180 grams of protein a day. Okay. That should be enough to kind of maintain and build muscle that your body needs for that body frame. Okay. Now, as far as supplementation and you buying things to supplement your protein, you want to look for things. Protein servings are 40 grams of protein or less. There's supplements out there that and companies that will sell you a mega protein supplement and have more than 40 grams per serving. But this is just a waste of money and a waste of time because your body, although it will digest it, a lot of that would just get flushed out because your body is able to only really process and put to use, good use, about 35 to 40 grams of protein per serving, per meal that you eat. So if you're eating something that's 50, 60 grams of protein, you're kind of missing some of those proteins is going to get flushed out. So make sure that if you are even, this is also including meals. Let's say you're eating a meal of fish or whatever. If it's surpassing that 40 grams for that dish or that meal, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice and throwing a little bit of money away and food away because it's not really going to be put to use as far as muscle growth and things like that. Okay. The second supplementation is caffeine, and again, this doesn't have to be coffee, but this can be, tea. It can come in a pills form. It comes in powder form. You see energy drinks all the time. There's a new energy drink every day popping up, and essentially, the best dose is about 1.4 milligrams per pound to 4 milligrams per pound. Obviously, this has to do with, how much caffeine you have daily, your dependency, how high your resistance is to caffeine, um, and yeah. So the higher the number, the more side effects, of course. Higher heart rate, sweating, nausea, things like that. But the caffeine is a great supplement, especially for weight loss, and it does a couple of things. One, it's a great form of pre-workout because it does increase your heart rate, it does increase alertness, and it does kind of usually influence a better intense workout. Okay, so caffeine is awesome, and it has been shown to increase your heart rate, which in essence increases how much calories you burn, and so on and so on. And it has a long list of other benefits. Okay. The other one is creatine. Now, creatine is one of those that people keep going back and forth. Is it bad? Is it good? Is it good? Is it bad? And it is good. It's been proven again and again and again in research. 3 to 7 grams per day of creatine will pretty much it will allow you to lift a little heavier. It will allow you to recover a little faster, and it will just pretty much help with your recovery and your overall training. Okay. Um, Give me 1 second. Let's take a sip of water. This is all uncut, unedited, baby. We're gonna continue going like if I'm here right there with you. All right. So the next thing is multivitamin. Again, I don't. I'm not one to tell you what brand to buy or what company is the best, but just do your research. Again, make sure that it is either FDA approved or there's a third party that's checking into those, because multivitamins does fall again in one of those supplementation category where people will tell you this has this, and that, but no one else is testing it. Only the owner of that company, and you're not really sure, one, if the dosages are correct, or two, if those ingredients are um, sourced in an ethical way, or if they're even safe. Quite honestly, so make sure that you buy a multivitamin that you trust and that you feel comfortable taking. I, for one, prefer gummy multivitamins, as funny as that sounds, because I'm more consistent with it. I've tried the pill ones, and I'll buy them once in a while, but the gummy ones, it serves two purposes for me. My favorite candy is gummies. I love gummy bears, gummy anything. Give it to me. So this allows me to kill that craving on a daily basis. So I don't feel like I need to buy candy or buy any of this, because guess what? I'm taking my multivitamins and they're delicious. Yes, do they have a little bit of sugar? Yes, but they get the job done, and it allows me to be consistent. So it's really whatever works for you. You're gonna hear pros and cons in the internet of each one. Quite honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're not going to end up taking it on a consistent basis. So choose something that you believe in, that you think you're going to take consistently, and that you like. Okay. Fish oils, same thing. I take the multivitamin that I take is combined with fish oil, and it doesn't taste like fish. It tastes like a gummy. So that's another thing. Do your research, find something that you enjoy, that you like, and take it. Fish oils is great. Usually, when someone has a heart attack or has heart problems, guess what? They get prescribed fish oils for a reason. I say you should start taking fish oils before you have that, as preventative. It helps with your blood flow. It helps with your heart health, and the omegas that it contains a lot helps with fat loss. Okay. And then the other thing that I would recommend is fiber. And again, do your research, choose what product works best for you. And the reason why I recommend fiber is because with a high protein diet, which is usually what I suggest, you do kind of miss out on some of the fiber stuff, okay? Because you're not eating as much as starchy foods, or, very like a lot of vegetables and things like that. Excuse me. So, in total, in average, Americans are deficient of fiber. Okay, and fiber is going to help you with your gut health, your digestive, and also is going to help you feel fuller for longer. So, having a fiber supplement is going to help with those appetites and latent appetite as well. Okay, now, all that being said, I know I threw a ton of information at you, and just feel free to go back and hear it again and go through the math and figure it out, and feel free to reach out to me and I can help you with that. But if you feel overwhelmed, that's completely fine. This is things that I read tons of books and tons of podcasts, years of practicing on my own self and my body. I don't expect you to get it in a 30-minute video. But however, I did put golden nuggets in there where you should be able to take and continue to learn from them, right? Do your own research, implement them in your own life, in your own lives. And, as you go along, maybe in a couple years, and everything, then you'll be in a better situation than what you are now. And again, if you do feel overwhelmed, it's fine. Okay. I do offer a nutrition program where I do all that stuff that we discussed for you. I tell you how much calories you should be consuming. I tell you how much protein, how much carbs, how much fats you should be consuming. I tell you how much supplements you should be taking. And then, obviously, if you're part of my nutrition program, I give you suggestions as far as companies and things that I trust. And also, I provide a humongous list of recipes that will automatically be adjusted for how much calories you should be consuming per meal. Another thing that I give you with my nutrition program is a food tracker. So you're able to track all your food there, and I'm actually able to go in there and look at it real time and give you feedback. I'm able to see where are you lacking? Are you not hitting your protein goal? Are you not hitting your fats or carb goal? What can we do to change that? It's like really in depth. Okay. And then on top of that, with my nutrition program, we do meet once a week virtually, just like this on a camera, where we kind of go over your whole week as far as eating goes. And I can make adjustments based on your weight loss, right? Because as you lose weight, your TDEE changes, but then changes everything again. So you would have to do everything that we just discussed in this video all over again. So that's a headache, I know, but that's why there's people like me that have a career doing it. So I will do it all over for you again and provide those new numbers to you on either a weekly or bi-weekly basis to make sure that you continue to progress with your weight loss. Okay. And that's about it. This is the end. Like always, thank you for allowing me to be your certified personal trainer for this past month. This is the Kickstart Challenge. So as everything is not going to be into depth, into detail, it's going to be kind of vaguely so you can learn. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification button. It helps us deliver this type of content to people that need to know it. Also, if you're not following us yet, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and now Twitter, and TikTok at Self Revolution Fitness. And like always, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day.